And see if I can get my computer working properly again.
Oh,
That's me. Okay, so coming, did we lose Councilor McCabe?
we all bail. We're gonna build on numerics.
That's okay. Okay, so we have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive the verbal report regarding HBI aggregate pit agreement. And further, the council approve the confidential direction to staff. Okay, mover and a seconder, please.
Yep.
Councilor Hearn and Councilor Rankin. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We have another recommendation coming out of close that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington. Yeah. Wellington North defer report EDO 2023-20 Senior of the Year and Ontario Volunteer Award nominations for 2024. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that? Councilor Rankin and Councilor McCabe. All those in favor? That's carried. And another recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report EDO 2023-21 Economic Development Office update. And further, that council approve the confidential direction to staff. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councilor McCabe and Councilor Rankin. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Move on to the closed minutes. So we have a recommendation that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Wellington North approve the closed meeting minutes of September 11th, 2023 council meeting. Moved by Councilor Hearn, seconded by Councilor McCabe. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Well, I'm on here for county council update. Too bad I wasn't prepared for that.
You want to do it next meeting?
Maybe we'll do it at the next meeting, yes.
Thank you. I know you've been having some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Too, so.
Okay, so why don't have we got okay, are we okay for Canada?
I don't have it.
Okay, all right, so we'll recess to move into the public meeting for planning purposes. We have a recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North recess the September 25th, 2023 regular meeting of council at 7:33 p.m. for the purpose of holding a public meeting under the Planning Act. This is for Eugene Sidler, a minor variance. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councilor McCabe and Councilor Hearn. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So we're recessed from our council meeting. Move to our Committee of Adjustment meeting. And I'll call the Committee of Adjustment meeting to order and ask if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest with regard to application A10/23. Councilor McCabe?
I have none.
I have none to declare. Councilor Hearn?
No.
Councilor Rankin?
I have none.
Okay, thank you. We'll deal with the minutes of the previous Committee of Adjustment meeting. Recommendation being that the Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes of September 11th, 2023, application A09/23 be adopted as presented. Excuse me, could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councilor McCabe and Councilor Rankin. Any questions or comments on those? All those in favor? It's carried, thank you. Move on to our application for this evening. Application A10/23 for Eugene Sidler. The location of the subject property is described as Survey Thomas Harris, Lot 5, Part Lot 4, and it is municipally known as 370 Queen Street West. The property is approximately 0.16 hectares in size. The location of the property is shown on the map in your package. Purpose and effect of the application is to provide relief from the maximum height for an accessory structure. The applicant is proposing to build a garage for personal use with a height of 28 feet. Other variances may be considered where deemed appropriate. How was notice given for this public meeting?
Notices were mailed to property owners within 60 meters of the subject property and mailed as well to the applicable agencies. Signage was posted on the property on September 12th, 2023.
Okay, thank you. Matthew, can you run us through this one, please?
Yes, gladly, no problem. So before you today, as mentioned, is a minor variance application to provide relief from the maximum height for an accessory structure. The applicant, sorry, is proposing to construct a new garage with a height of 8.5 meters or 28 feet, whereas the bylaw permits a maximum height of 4.57 meters or 15 feet. The applicant has indicated the additional height is required to accommodate personal vehicles, as well as a second floor, which will be used as storage and potentially an additional dwelling unit down the road. With that said, planning staff have no concerns with the application as it meets the 4 tests, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you. Has any correspondence other than what's listed on the agenda been received in respect to this application?
No, there has not.
Okay. Anyone wishing to be notified of the decision must submit a written request to the Secretary Treasurer of Committee of Adjustment. And having said that, I'll open the floor for any questions or comments from the applicant and or the public.
Unless you have any specific questions.
Okay. Do we have anyone registered to speak on this application?
We do not.
Okay, then we'll switch over to questions or comments from committee members. Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, I just got a couple. Thanks for coming, Eugene. Just looking at the overhead, are there buildings on it already?
We don't pick you up on the Zoom recording.
Oh, I'm so sorry. The only existing structure on the current plan is the dwelling unit, which is my house,
Oh, okay.
which is shown as the building that's standing there. The remainder of it is empty.
Okay. And then 28 feet, that's quite a height.
It is. So what ends up happening is we would like to make the ground floor of the structure 12 feet to be able to accommodate a pickup truck with camping trailer attached with an air conditioner on top so that we can get it in the doors. And then the second floor would be a potential dwelling unit. I have 2 children, and eventually, because I can't anticipate real estate getting less expensive, one girl can have the big house, one girl can have the other. It could be made into a dwellable house at some point. So we thought if we're paying to build a ground floor structure, it's not that much more to put a second story on it.
Okay.
That was our thought process.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Anyone else?
Any other questions? Councillor Rankin?
Through you, Mayor Lennox. I'm just wondering, on the diagram, it had a proposed driveway, and I know you have an existing driveway now. Would there be a second driveway, or are you
No.
going to make it into one?
What ends up happening right now, if you look closely at the drawing, the way the current driveway sits, it sort of divides our property. Because there's the house and then there's the driveway and then there's some more lot. We had put a play structure for our children in the back, but we found ironically that periodically there were neighborhood children who thought it was a small parkette and would come and play on our property. And so we thought it would make more logical sense if we moved the driveway further to the edge of the property. So it was house and then yard and then driveway, to make it seem like one continuous property. So yes, the existing driveway would be taken out and replaced by lawn.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Councillor Hearn?
Not really question. I just, I'm really supportive and excited about applications like this that add an additional residential unit and stay within the footprint that's there.
We like the town. I grew up in this area. My dad used to live just north of Kenilworth. We bought what was Jack Johnson's previous home. We've been improving it over time, and now we'd like to add some storage for vehicles and things like that, and make it look really nice. We've talked to our neighbors, made sure that we take into account what they would like to see. So one of our neighbors in a casual conversation said to us, we'd prefer if there wasn't windows on one side of your building, so you're not looking down into a prospective pool. And we said, sure, we'll not put any windows on that side of the building. So we've tried to be very conscious of what the neighbors would like and make it so that it'll fit aesthetically with the lot and with the historic building that's on it.
Any other questions, comments? I just have a question, I think really for you, Matthew. So we're constructing this as an accessory structure right now with the potential for it to be used as a accessory dwelling unit in the future. Would that require any further rezoning or change of use permitting, or would that be covered by the additional residential unit piece?
So through you, Chair, it would be covered, essentially potentially some building permit tweaks with regards to, you know, if he was, because right now, essentially it'll just be sort of a blanket floor area is what I understand. So if he was to convert it to, you know, the ADU, and there was the need to, you know, put a bathroom, kitchen, that sort of thing, there might be a need for a building permit. But in terms of, you know, zone change or variance, there shouldn't be anything, you know, more required. All that stuff's already written into the bylaw as a right.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we had that potential covered and not make it more difficult later. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the decision, which would be that the minor variance applied for in application A10/23 for the property described as Survey Thomas Harris, Lot 5, Part Lot 4, Geographic Township, Town of Mount Forest, excuse me, with a civic address of 370 Queen Street West, provide the following relief. Number one, that an increased maximum height of 8.53 meters be permitted for an accessory building, whereas the bylaw allows for 4.57 meters. All those in favor? That's approved, so that's granted. And with that, we will move to adjourning the Committee of Adjustment meeting with the recommendation that the Committee of Adjustment meeting of September 25th, 2023 be adjourned at 7:42 p.m. Okay, get a mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Rankin, Councillor McCabe, all those in favor? It's carried, so we're adjourned. So that's that. You can depart if you wish. Thanks. Okay, so we'll resume our regular meeting of council. We have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North resume the September 25th, 2023 regular meeting of council at 7:43 p.m. Okay, gonna mover and a seconder, Councillor McCabe, Councillor Hearn. All those in favor? It's carried. We'll move on to adoption of the minutes of the council and public meeting with the recommendation that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on September 11th, 2023 be adopted as circulated. Okay, a mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Hearn and Councillor Rankin. Any questions or comments on those minutes?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Don't believe we have any business arising from previous meetings, so we'll move right on to items for consideration. Any that anyone would like to have pulled out? Councillor McCabe.
Thank you. Excuse me, through you. I'd like 3A. And that is the administration report 2310 with Wellington North Power.
Okay.
And then 3B, and that's report 2023-030 with the Wellington North 25th anniversary.
Okay.
And then, excuse me, 3C, the report 2023-033, the K9 control contract.
Okay. Any others? Councillor Rankin?
Excuse me.
4B, please.
Yeah, that's the letter from our Minister of Housing. Any other ones that anyone would like pulled out? Okay, so we've got, just to recap, we've got 3A, 3B, 3C, and 4B. Not seeing any more, so we'll deal with all the others. We have a recommendation that all items listed under items for consideration on the September 25th, 2023 council agenda, with the exception of those items identified for separate discussion, be approved and the recommendations therein be adopted. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please?
Yep.
Councillor McCabe. Counselor Hearn, you're okay for seconding that? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll go back to 3A. This is in regard to the Wellington North Power Loan application. So the recommendation is that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report CAO 2023-10 Wellington North Power Inc. loan application approval. And further, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North as the primary shareholder grants approval to Wellington North Power Inc. to borrow up to $1.1 million from Infrastructure Ontario to finance smart reader replacement, re-verification capital project, new large developments, and restoring a healthier current ratio. Okay, gonna move her in a second for that. Councillor McCabe, Councillor Hearn. And with that, we'll open it up for discussion. Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, I just have a quick question about this. Either you or Brooke can probably answer this. The loan of 1.1, are we just kind of signing it so that they can get the money from Infrastructure Ontario, or are they actually, just for clarification, taking the money from Infrastructure Ontario or through us or from us?
So we're only really like commenting on this.
Okay,
Because we're the primary shareholder. They need our permission.
blessing, so to speak. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Better way to put it. Thank you.
All right. Nope, that's kind of what I thought. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on that one? You may recall, Councillor McCabe, we've done this before, every time that they've went out and got an additional loan. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to the 25th anniversary one. We have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report CLK 2023-30, being a report on Township of Wellington North 25th anniversary, and the staff be directed to work with the Cultural Roundtable to plan appropriate recognition activities, celebrate the 25th anniversary, and bring their recommendations to council by early 2024. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor McCabe and Councillor Hearn. I'll open the floor up for discussion. Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this out just so it's on, excuse me, more of a public record that we are turning 25 as one solid community, and I'm looking forward to what the roundtable comes up with, and be interesting to be a part of this 25th anniversary as well. So looking forward to that, and hoping that we can invite back as many past councillors and mayors that are still alive and with us, as and clerks and road supers as we can. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to the K9 control contract. Recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report CLK 2023-33 K9 control contract, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the bylaw to amend bylaw 30-2016, being a bylaw for the provision of K9 control services. Okay, get a mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor McCabe and Councillor Rankin. With that, I'll open the floor for questions, comments.
Yeah, I just have, excuse me, just through you, Mayor Lennox, the contracted amount, do we pay that regardless, or just when we use them? The 2,500?
That's a contracted amount. That's what he makes every month to be on call.
Whether we use them or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Rankin.
I was just wondering, do we have an idea how many times they are used per month?
We get a report every month, and I could bring a report back, just summarizing. I mean, there's names and addresses mentioned in his report, so it would have to be higher level.
It's just a total. I was just wondering if, I understand the reason for the increase is not the number of times that they're utilized, but I was just out of curiosity wondering how many times we do use them.
Yeah, I could do that.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 4B. This is the correspondence from the Honorable Paul Calandra. The recommendation is that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive the correspondence dated September 15th, 2023, from the Honorable Paul Calandra, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing regarding responding to the Housing Affordability Task Force recommendations. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor McCabe and Councillor Rankin. We'll open the floor for discussion on that one.
If I could just provide some clarity, this letter came into us stated September 15th. It came in very closely after that date. And you'll notice on page 39, it wants you to list your top 5. They didn't tell you what the initiative they've done. That arrived at 4:35 this afternoon. So I emailed it out to everybody, but I've also printed it here. So there's a quick 74 to go through, but so I don't know, again, if you want to look at this and bring your recommendations back, but I'll go ahead.
Brooke,
Do your list.
go ahead, Brooke.
Through you, Mayor Lennox. I did take the liberty of going through the document when we first received the letter, so I do have some proposed thoughts on what we may want to consider responding, but I'm very interested to hear if council has anything in terms of direction, but otherwise staff would be happy to put together a response to this just based on our understanding of what's been implemented to date and what we feel would be helpful from the province to move forward with.
Okay. Maybe we'll see what we get out of the discussion here and then we'll come back to that. Questions, comments? Councillor McCabe?
I'm very surprised at the speed at which this minister got this list together,
Mhm.
seeing as he's new in the,
I
the
believe this
ministry.
list existed prior to.
oh yeah, I'm sure it did. A lot of this, I think, just at a very quick glance, just getting it tonight and getting it just before we came in. I know what a lot of it centers around Toronto, but I would be remiss to say that we shouldn't have some of the top 5 revolve around rural, which would revolve around the protection of farmland. I have got to have that in one of my top 5s for sure. The food security in Ontario is paramount, and we're looking to protect what we have, especially here in Wellington North, the ag sector, and indeed all of Ontario. The GDP, I think, is close to almost 3 billion just in Wellington alone. And you multiply that across Ontario, we have a right and I think a duty to protect this farmland as we go forward, not just for now in the next few years, but also for the next generations as well. So I know, do we have to come up with 5 tonight? I know you have some recommendations, Brooke, but I'd love to see the protection of farmland for sure as one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Councillor Rankin?
Through you, Mayor Lennox, I agree totally with Councillor McCabe's comments. But also I am concerned because there is no other support for these buildings. They want to build them fast. They want to put them in every place we can and bring people in, but they are not providing any kind of social support for the people that are going to be utilizing these living units. They haven't considered that we don't have the medical facilities. We don't have enough doctors to accommodate the people we have now, not alone having an influx of people. Also, there's police. We've had a police station that's moved out of Mount Forest, and if we were supposed to be growing that to a large extent, why can't we have one back in that the people can access? And the same with the Board of Education. Have they taken into consideration the number of schools and teachers they're going to need, and where are they going to be coming from? The education, I'm kind of concerned about, I am concerned about, because if you have the number of people coming into the area that they seem to be anticipating, then you're going to have overcrowded classrooms, and you're going to have some children that may need extra care. They're not going to get it. They're going to fall through the cracks. And according to the task force, they gave a biography of everybody. They are all concerned and have certificates in building and finance, but none in any of the other support areas that I feel the people that they're wanting to accommodate. They have no certificates in order to to deal with that type of support for the people. So I'm concerned about that. I understand where they're coming from, but I just think they're not looking at the whole picture.
Okay.
Thank you.
I know that this has come in at the last minute, but just to clarify, what they're wanting is you to pick the top 5 of their 74 recommendations, right? So your other concerns could accompany that, but they're really wanting to pick the top 5 off this 74 list.
Yeah, I realize that, but I'm just thinking they're lacking in foresight.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? So I'm going to make a suggestion. Brooke, thank you for being so quick off the mark and picking out the ones you think are the top 5. I'm wondering, our next meeting, I believe, is the 10th or something like that. Do I have the date right? And I believe this is due the 15th. I'm wondering if we could, if you could bring this back in the form of a report and maybe include some of the issues raised here tonight as supporting things, just let council weigh in before we send it off. Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Lennox, certainly will do that.
Okay. Council comfortable with that?
Oh, yeah.
That way everybody has a chance to look at the 74 and pick out their favorite 5. Okay, there's no further questions or comments. I'll call the motion then. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to any notice of motion this evening. All right, seeing none. Any community group meeting program report? Councillor McCabe.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Lennox, we had last Thursday, we had a Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority meeting where we are updating our strategic plan. Hopefully setting out some direction for about the next 5 to 10 years. And then we're also working on our budget for next year as well. And there are agreements sent out to all the member municipalities, including ours, of course, for the provision for category 3 as under the province, which is programs that Cat 3 is programs that allow further conservation, restoration, development, and management of natural resources. If we deem that all 3 conservation authorities in Wellington North, if we allow for them or agree with them, then anything that they do, they can charge for. And the Cat 1 and Cat 2 are all programs mandated by the province. So just something to keep your eye on. And I know, Brooke, you and I have chatted about this, and I think it's coming back in October, I believe. And yeah, so that's all I've got for quick meetings. I'd like to say thanks to Brooke also, and Councillor Rankin and Councillor Hearn for going to the plowing match on the opening parade. So nice to see that over with our neighbors in Dufferin, and good to be there. So
thank you. Any other reports anyone wish to make this evening? Councillor Hearn?
I think I'm actually going to put Dale on the spot is my report. Sorry, Dale. And I've been a little behind as I was at that plowing match all week, and I've been kind of out of commission for the last 10 days. But I've seen a bunch of emails floating around about the chamber AGMs and boards of excellence and all that. Do you remember those dates?
Yeah, and unfortunately, they're both on the same evening.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I think it's the is it the 15th of October, the 3rd Wednesday?
The 3rd Wednesday would be an 18th.
18th of October, I believe that's it. I'll confirm that with everyone, but the Mount Forest Chamber had to cancel the AGM that they had planned at Pike Lake, and then when they rescheduled it with their excellence awards, they scheduled it for the same evening as the Arthur AGM, so. But I'll get,
Well, Arthur AGM is October the 18th.
yes,
Yeah.
so they're both on the same evening.
They've asked me to swear in their directors.
Anything else, Councillor Hearn?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Rankin, go ahead.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that I was at the community garden. They held a dinner last week and I was out in the garden. And to see two boys come into the garden who were really excited about the plants that they had and the harvesting of it. Some of the beds have already been finished and they're cleaned up and they're still looking forward now to getting the rest of them done for the season. But it's really nice to see people enjoying their garden and the fruits of their labors.
Thanks for that. Okay, did you have another one? Councillor
No,
McKay?
no, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I don't have anything I think I want to report on particularly today, so we'll move on to bylaws. And the recommendation would be that bylaw number 86-2023 and 87-2023 be read a first, second, and third time and enacted. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor McCabe and Councillor Rankin. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We're on to our cultural moment. Thanks, Councillor Hearn, for agreeing to share that with us.
Thank you. And I'm gonna have to ask for help because I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Is that Greg?
Greg.
That's what I thought, but I didn't want to commit an error, so I apologize. Cultural moment for September 25th celebrates Carolyn Curtis Gregg. With over 30 years experience, Carolyn Curtis Gregg is a longtime educator with her main focus in helping special needs high school students develop their language and literacy skills. This in turn led to her involvement in the Board of Education's Literacy Committee and the founding of the Reading Tutor Program in area high schools. She grew up in Arthur and became a teacher where she taught in British Columbia, Yukon, and Ontario. The books she has written focus on some basic growing up fundamentals that we wish all our children would be conscious of: sharing, manners, friendship, loyalty, acceptance, prayer, and bullying. They focus on first listening to the stories and then advancing to reading parts of the stories, which are written in capital letters, and later reading themselves. From her love of dogs, the main character in the book is a dachshund named Jerry, who has other dog friends that can parallel to a child's real life with their friends. And in the school book, and in the book, School Days, a book about bullying, teaches that in spite of our differences, we all have unique talents and special abilities. The book, The Rescue, takes place in the Elora Gorge. In her second book, The Birthday Party, emphasizes the golden rule: treat people the way you would like to be treated. Carolyn lives in Arthur with her husband, Henry, and her current dachshund. We thank her contribution as an author and for enriching our community. And this was submitted by Bonnie McDougall of the Wellington North Cultural Roundtable.
Thank you. We'll move on to our confirming bylaw. Recommendation is that bylaw number 88-23 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North at its regular meeting held on September 25th, 2023 be read a first, second, and third time and enacted. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor McCabe and Councillor Rankin. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And before we move to adjournment, I'll just draw your attention to the meetings notices, etc. And looks like Saturday is going to be an extremely busy day with the closing of the Mount Forest or the Wellington North Farmers Market, the open house with the Lions Blacksmith Shop, and they're having barbecue and tours. And of course, the Mets Pumpkin Fest is on this Saturday as well. So, and our next upcoming council meeting is Tuesday because of the Thanksgiving holiday, October 10th at 2 p.m. And with that, I'll move to adjournment. Recommendation that the regular council meeting of September 25th, 2023 be adjourned at 8:05 p.m. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Hearn, Councillor Rankin, thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.